for this special day. I hope everyone has a good night.
That'll do you, bud. Well done.
I've got my glasses on, so it's getting serious now.
Right, hello. If there's anybody in this room who's feeling nervous and queasy, then it's because we've now reached that point in the proceedings when we all get to see the groom shift upon comfortably in his seat and smile through gritted teeth as he's presented with his best man's speech. Don't worry though, mate, I've researched this. My speech is going to be like a mini skirt. It will cover the essentials and be short enough to hold your attention. Now, a best man speech is a bit like being on a nudist beach. The first few minutes are always the hardest. But I'm not going to speak for too long today, because I won't be able to keep it up. But also because of my throat. Michelle's threatened to cut it if I carry on for too long. Now, I will admit to you, I am very nervous up here. And as the people sitting near to me can testify, you really can smell fear. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Nick. I'm Darren's favourite uncle. There is absolutely no need to devalue that statement by saying I'm his only uncle. I'm still his favourite. Also his worst. You know. Now, I first met Darren as a young man. I say young, I mean a baby. They often tend to be young when first born. And he was approximately 1 day old when he turned my life upside down. Since then, things have gone progressively and expensively worse. I certainly wasn't expecting to share a bedroom and a bed with him. Nowadays, that sort of thing ends up being caught in a custodial. So it's fair to say I've known Darren for most of his life. Well, at least so far anyway. And depending on how this speech goes, he might even speak to me again after. Now, you can tell a lot about a groom, about who chooses to be the best man. In Darren's case, that he's desperate. Darren asked me to stand here and make a speech today, and I promised him I wouldn't talk about anything too embarrassing. And he actually believed me. I also said that I'd remove any smutty jokes, so if I do come across any sexual innuendo as I'm reading through, I'll just whip it straight out. Come on, people. When Darren asked me to be his best man, I was delighted. He meant the drinks were going to be on him for once. Finally. Then all the stories started flooding into my head. I saw this as an opportunity to talk about a hero of mine. Handsome, kind-hearted, quite brilliant man. Admired by all those who come across him. But the idea of a best man speech is to talk about the groom and not myself. I'm supposed to sing the groom's praises and tell you about his many good points. Well, I'm sorry, I can't sing and I won't lie. Having accepted the honour of being his best man, I spent a long time deciding how to describe Darren. This is his wedding day after all, and I don't want to embarrass him too much. I want to strike that right tone of sincerity, praise and warmth. Only another 40 minutes, mate. Where do I start with Desmondo? A man who defies description. I could speak for ages about him, yet still not be any closer to grasping what makes Darren Darren. He's hands-on, a man of action, a man of few words, a motorbiking man of mystery, yet could also easily be described with a single internationally recognised hand gesture. Now, I don't know what hand gesture you lot are thinking, but mine was that. Of course, on hearing that was to be best man, I did what any self-respecting best man would do. I borrowed Darren's laptop and turned to the internet for inspiration and googled the perfect best man speech. This is not it. To be honest though, you had to pay to read the examples, and considering the amount of times this wedding was rescheduled, I didn't want to keep renewing my subscription. After all, this wedding has been postponed so many times, it's been very emotional, and there's been so much crying that even the cake is in tears.
Oh.
Now, Michelle, you are not Darren's first love. That belongs to his boyhood toys. In particular, his barn and farmyard animals. And then as a young lad, real farmyard animals. He's had a few dogs in his time. And he really liked to hang around with the horses. and he wasn't afraid to get stuck in the mud with forceable on his boots. And after using Darian's laptop, I can confirm that Darian's love for farmyard animals has continued into adulthood. I just hope he doesn't feel too sheepish after this. He's also always hanging around his grandparents' house, usually on the scrounge. Rummaging around in his granddad's garage for his tools.
Oh,
So I
God.
just assumed he likes DIY with all that banging and screwing he's doing with Michelle in their new house. Michelle did say he was good with his hands. Now, a best man is similar to a body at a funeral. We're expected to be there, but if you talk a little bit too much, people just start looking odd at you, so I'm going to give a few thanks. Michelle, of course, you do look stunning. You've also got a new frock, some pretty flowers, and everything Darren bought he wants home. I need to mention how beautiful the bridesmaids look. I have to put that bit in because my wife Sammy's one here today. And a big thank you to everyone who made the trip together today, make a wonderful day for these two. Particularly Phil and Joyce for bringing up a wonderful daughter. And of course to Sam, Darren's very proud mother, my sister, who just for reference, is not the same Sam as my wife, because we're not sleeping in the same bed as Darren stuff. I mentioned at the beginning, it's just going to sound a little bit weird now. So Darren and Michelle, what I'd like to do now is turn and face each other and look in each other's eyes. Michelle, I want you to put your hand flat on the table. Darren, I want you to put your hand on top of Michelle's. Look into each other's eyes. And while you both gaze at each other lovingly, know that you're now both looking at the person that is statistically the most likely to murder you. And Darren, that's also the last time you'll ever have the upper hand. They are the two essential things you need for a successful marriage: a sense of humour and selective hearing.
Hey?
What? Darren, I do want to thank you for giving me the honour of being your best man. I never told you this, but you're always going to be like the son I would have wanted. There isn't anyone else I'd rather have in my corner. So Darren's a really great bloke. He's got a heart of gold, and I'm so happy that Michelle has found someone as wonderful as she is to share their lives with. So let us toast to a long and merry life of the bride and groom. May they continue to find joy together, grow old together, and laugh together for many, many years to come. To the bride and groom, Mr. and Mrs. Cook.
Mr. and Mrs. Cook. Well done, Nick.